to talk to you all about choosing your vortex. Okay, so I know I said, this was kind of a silly, this word vortex was kind of funny because it was like, I don't understand that word too much. And I kind of gave that same, I had that same thought when I first heard vortex too. So first off, vortex kind of sounds weird. It's like Star Trek, beam me up to Scotty, right? But it's not really a weird word. It's just a word that people don't really use as often. And typically, a vortex is where a fluid in a certain flow revolves around an axis line. The line can be straight or curved. It didn't show up. If you guys are having any trouble at all, you can always go to my YouTube channel because I'm streaming live on YouTube and it's perfect. I see it, no problem. But my YouTube is Reagan Abdul-Malik and we're streaming live and it's been going and there's been no problems at all. So if anyone has any issues with any of the feeds, just go to my YouTube, okay? Reagan Abdul-Malik is the YouTube. All right, so anyway, a vortex is where a fluid basically circulates in a certain flow. It revolves around an axis line. The line can be straight or curved. A moving vortex carries with it angular and linear momentum, energy, or mass. When I think of a vortex, I think of like something very cosmic. I think of something like the rings on Saturn or something like that. But I think of something that, is kind of like something in the space realm. But I want to talk to you about another type of vortex. It is what's known as a pocket of energy. So let me tell you about another revelation that came to me when I was out in Sedona, Arizona. We talked about this a little bit last week, but I wanted to tell you, once again, I was with my fearless daredevil friends. And there were times during our hikes that we would all just kind of wander off in our own directions and in our own areas and just kind of have our own moments of peace and solitude. And we would just be, kind of talking, we talked to each other, but then when we kind of went our own ways and kind of just hung out, we were able to just meditate and just really have this moment in nature by ourselves. So as I was walking around the different mountains and the different trails, I started to notice like these plants and the cacti and the desert flowers, they had like these strong bases that were planted. But then whatever was like, the smaller limbs or the smaller branches, they were basically growing in like this very circular motion. This is how they were growing. So I started to notice this on different flowers and I was like, wow, this is really interesting how the smaller branches were growing. So I would start taking pictures of these trees and flowers everywhere I went. I was like, oh my God, this is so cool. So allow me now to explain the vortices or the vortexes in Sedona, Arizona. So Sedona is known for having these areas where there are pockets of energy throughout these trails. And I mean, it's not like you wouldn't feel like a tornado, but you would definitely come to a place where you're like, whoo, I feel the vortex, because your hairs would start to stand up. Corey and Sylvia and Tammy, if you guys are on here, chat, let's talk about it. So, you would start to feel like this air and this energy like really just circulate around your body, and it was really cool. So as a result of the air and the energy and the pockets of energy circulating around those plants and those flowers and those trees, that was molding the plants, that was shaping them. It was almost like they were being grown or being molded or, cultivated by their environment. And I started thinking about this and I said, the vortex is causing these plants and flowers to grow in such a pattern that it just kind of shows you how, even as people and even how we are in general, where whatever our environment is, that's how we grow. That's what we put into our ourselves. That's what we live, what we, you know, we learn what we live, right? And so I just started thinking about this, and I said, that's why it's very important to choose your environment. And I thought it would be kind of cool to say, choose your vortex, because it's about what you have yourself around. It's what you focus on. It's what you are allowing to come into your aura and come into, you know, what you give your energy to. That's choosing your vortex. That's choosing what you want, how you want to live, and who you want to be. So it's very important for you to choose carefully your vortex, right? So we were talking about even the cacti. They were beautiful, these huge cacti flowers and plants, and then the little like hairs around, I don't know what they're called, like the little strands around were like growing in like this circular motion. It was just really cool to see that and use that in nature to say, wow, this is really amazing, because you know, it's just like how we are too. We are a product of our own environment. So I ask you tonight, what's your vortex? What's molding you? What are you giving your energy to? What are you allowing to feed into your, you know, your life? You know, who are you giving your time to? Another way to look at a vortex is in the eyes of a spiritual teacher and author by the name of Abraham Hicks, or Esther Hicks. She describes a vortex in a different way. She described, and Avra's very familiar with her. We have a lot of friends that follow Abraham Hicks, but she describes a vortex in a different way. She describes it as when you are in the vortex, or when you are in the flow. So that's what she describes, when you are one with source, or, you know, with God, and when you're in alignment with yourself, you know, and the world and everything that's going around you. She says, you're in the vortex, you're in the flow, you're in everything that's like amazing for you, right? So basically she says being in the vortex means being one with who you really are. You are feeling uplifted and empowered, and you are in a vibrational alignment with your to your desires, which ultimately is in alignment with God. So I say, when I'm in the vortex, I'm like, I'm feeling it, I'm happy, everything's working out, everything's going right. And then I say, how can I stay in the vortex, right? Because I don't want to come out of it. And so what can you do to stay in the vortex? You can pray, you can meditate. What helps for me is when you walk in nature, when you just go on these walks, and like I said, looking around and really learning lessons from nature is like amazing. That to me is like God's way of speaking into you, you know, things that are going on. You know, you can kind of get like a teaching from just being out in nature. Also something else, you know, this kind of really kind of, how can I say this, has not always been something that I've been really focusing on, but also detoxing your body, eating healthy, just being more cognizant of the things that you put in your body, drinking water, you know, just being in alignment, just taking care of yourselves, exercise, you know, it goes on and on and on. It's self-care, right? Being in the vortex is self-care. Okay, so let's talk about another vortex idea that came into my mind while writing this message. The idea of Wakanda, right? This country, Wakanda. This is a real country, but it's actually also based on a country in the movie Black Panther. I wanted to do this as like a little tribute to Chadwick Boseman, who, as you all probably know, he was an actor that played King T'Challa on Black Panther. He was amazing. He really just embodied every character that he ever played. He played some major roles. But for those that may not know or do know, he actually he passed away a few days ago, but he had cancer. He had colon cancer. No one ever knew. I mean, I'm sure his immediate, you know, his family, his circle of family and friends knew, but no one in the media knew. And so what I thought about with Chadwick, God bless his soul, you know, God bless his soul. What I thought about was, wow, look at his vortex. Look at the vortex that he created, that he, covered himself in, so that he was protected, he was loved, he had an amazing tribe and circle of family and friends, that he was able to, even though he was battling colon cancer, and actually, we could say he was dying, he lived his life to the fullest. He, took on these big roles. He played in 42, the story of Jackie Robinson, and in the story of Thurgood Marshall, and he really embodied these characters. King T'Challa, like, my heart goes out to all these like young children, these young boys that hearts are broken because they feel like their superhero passed away, because it was like it was him. But I had to explain to my nephew. I said, he said Wakanda is dead. I said, no, baby, Wakanda is alive. So that's why I wanted to do this tribute. But I started thinking about the vortex that Chadwick, built his world around, and they protected him, they covered him, and I thought, what, this is all in the same message, because look at what he did when he was able to really embody, the people that loved him and all that kind of stuff. So make sure you do the same thing, build you a beautiful vortex, build you, trustworthy family and friends, people that, you love, they love you. I thought about a Bible scripture that, for me, really encompasses the meaning of vortex, right? Romans 12:2 says, and be not conformed to this world, but be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind, that ye may prove what is that good and acceptable and perfect will of God. And I love that scripture because it talks about not being of the world. Like, I think about things now that, I had to learn for myself, that everything is just not for you. And that's okay. It's okay to say, no, thank you. That's just not for me. Like my mother used to always say, that's not for you to do. Because when you think about God saying to you to not be conformed to this world, but be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind. And how do you do that? You meditate, you pray, you focus on things that, is going to make your world better. Like I was telling someone today, I just do the things I love, and I let everything else work out for itself. I just do the things that I love, and everything else just kind of, if I don't love it and I just don't want any parts, I just let God figure it out. I just give it to God. And a few of my friends were saying, be still and know that I am God, so, but I love that scripture because it really talks about transforming yourself. And I think this show literally is all about transformations, but transforming yourself by the renewing of your mind, which lets meditations, prayers, this is really big. So basically, choosing your vortex is about choosing your environment that you want to live in, creating an environment that pours into you and doesn't just take withdrawals and take whatever they can get out of you, but it pours into, it feeds into your soul, it fills your cup, right? So let's talk about how you can create a vortex for yourself that brings you peace, uplifts you spiritually, brings you closer to God, and encourages you to fulfill your dreams. Like I said, number one, prayer and meditation. Because what you ultimately want to do is to just cultivate your relationship with God. Build that relationship with God. Go into that prayer closet. Go into that sacred space that we talked about earlier. Make sure that everything you're doing is something that is building your spirit, mind, body, and soul. Read books that uplift you. Journal. We talked about that one day. Journal. Write out, your emotions, things that you're feeling. Write those things out. If you're having some issues where, things are bothering you and you're just like, I thought I was over this, but it's still here and I really need to do something about it. talk to a therapist. There's nothing wrong with, and I always say this, there's no shame in getting therapy. There's none. I mean, you know, my therapist, I put her on Zoom and I'm like, hey girl, let's social distance and do the therapy thing. So, and we actually have a therapist that is going to be actually going to be having a guest appearance. She's not my therapist. She's actually a friend of mine. So she's going to be on the show next month for World Mental Health Day. So I'm so excited about that. And, but yeah, just another thing you can do to choose your vortex and things that are happening with you is, I was saying, exercise, mental exercises, meditation, physical exercises, yoga. And then they put it all together, right? Because you're doing mental and physical. Eating healthy, juicing, you know, instead of going and getting that burger and fries that you know is going to make you feel bad in a little bit, go get you some nice fruits and vegetables and make yourself a smoothie. You know, I've been really trying to do more of that because I know it makes me feel better. Now, here's another part of this. Okay, what can you do to also create like the solid vortex, right? So not just like everything that makes you feel good you're doing. What can you do to create a solid vortex or a healthy environment? I would say focus also on clearing out your space, mentally and physically and emotionally. What that means, we already talked about decluttering your home, and we talked about, you know, clearing out areas in your home that may be, you know, just kind of weighing you down. But I want to talk about mentally clearing out, you know, toxic friendships, toxic relationships, people that, you know, when you come around them, they just don't make you feel good. It's just a feeling, the energy is not right. It's not meshing. You know, they may say some things or something that just puts you in a bad space. And you know what? I always say, just don't subject yourself to that, you know. So be mindful of your vortex, right, that you are creating. You know, make sure that all toxins are cleared out, whether it's food or, you know, bad energy, toxic relationships, that all can go hand in hand. Because what you want to do is you want to always bring yourself to, Average said sage. Yes, I have my little sage out here. My children hate when I burn sage. They're like, ooh, Mom, that is funky. But I mean, it clears out your energy, it clears out your your physical area too. But I just want to say also fasting from, you know, alcohol and other toxins that you may put in your body. This can help you to create this solid, healthy vortex, right? Y'all are going to be funny. Y'all going to be laughing at me later. Y'all going to be like, Reagan, let me tell you about my vortex. And I thought that was such a silly word, but it means so much now to me. But, you know, I just want you to be healthy. That's our main thing, right? And if you're watching this channel, Radiant Faces, or if you're watching this show, it's because you want to grow. It's because you want to be healthy. It's because you want to do things that feed into your spiritual growth, pours into your, you know, you as a person, and you want to fulfill your dreams. So that's what this show is about. So that's why I was like, I need to tell people how to create this amazing, you know, environment for themselves. And not only about creating it, but sometimes it's not always about doing all the things that you love. It can also be about taking things out that you don't love. You know what I mean? You're like, okay, wait a minute. This is not lining up. I'm not in alignment with this. Let me take this out, or let me take that out. That will create a blank canvas. Or I don't want to say a void, because I don't want you to feel that you're without something. But when you create a blank canvas, it's there for you to now create whatever you want it to be. Like when I first did this vision board, I mean, this is what it was. It was a blank canvas, right? And then when I did this and I put all of this stuff on my vision board, like, oh my God, this is going to be my life. How exciting, right? So that's what I want you to do. Take things out that you don't love and that does not line up with you and does not line up with where God is taking you and what God is doing in your life. And then put all these fabulous things back in it that you love and that it makes you have a solid vortex, right? And remember the scripture that I said tonight, be not conformed to this world, But be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind. It's all in your mind because you have the power. That's what I was telling Jabril. I was like, what's our song? Because we gotta play a song that shows people how they have the power. So this is kind of funny. I read this quote on someone's social media page, and I looked it up today because I wanted to properly give, you know, whoever said this quote credit, but I couldn't find the author or the writer of this quote, but I'm going to say it anyway. But it didn't come from me, but I wish it did because it's awesome. But anyway, the quote says, are y'all ready for this? This is an amazing quote. You are so powerful that when you think you're not powerful, you're not. All right, everybody, that was the end of the self-love message. You are so powerful that when you think you're not powerful, you're not. So get it together, guys, and choose that vortex and do that today. And I'm ready for my DJ to hit me some music so I can show you just how powerful y'all are. Y'all ready to dance with me? Hey! What? Come on, Jabril! Yeah! My power. You'll never take my power. Yes! Woo! Hey! Come on, Yanni! Come on! Hey! Come on, Yanni! Yes, my power! Okay, Jabril told me to get mine.
In the league,
Hey!
I'm who they wanna be.
Jabril, you like that?
Seen so much rage from a queen, queen so strong, like a machine.
All right, okay.
To the next and forget next.
Yeah!